Good morning, retail traders. I'm Washboard Jim with a Sneaky Snake trading strategy where I talk about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. And right now we're going to be talking about the market a little bit, what to expect this coming week, and maybe a few that are on the watch list. So let's get right there. First thing off my mind, off my chest, is Moody's rating downgraded the United States long-term credit rating from capital AA to capital Aa1 and changed its outlook. Now, negative to positive? Is that a misprint? So the positive on the market, but they downgraded it. Now, this downgrade should have came during the Biden regime when they printed $14 trillion over budget, $2 trillion over our natural budget, and then another $6.7 trillion in pork belly spending for all the fat cats in Washington. So, to me, I think that was way out of line, and they should have downgraded it then. But no, we printed $14 trillion for the rich fat cats, and it caused the market to run up 40%, which I was saying was way overbought. And we needed a small correction. And we got the small correction, but also now we got a downgrade because we're trying to make the budget, trying to lower the budget, trying to, it makes no sense to me, period. Now, the fat cats are worried about tariffs, and they're calling out recession and tariffs and recession, purposely bringing this market down when it didn't need to be brought down. But it did. We needed a correction, and I agree with that. So I'm still bullish on the market, and I think this could be opportunity to go ahead and buy the dip. So if you got your favorite tickers out there, I'd be watching them closely. And the rising government debt. So, like I said, the government's debt was $14 trillion under the Biden regime, and they weren't worried about it. I'm calling bullcrap. We should have got this downgrade during that period, but we did not. Coinbase under SEC investigation for overstatement of user numbers, which could be true. I don't know. Market reacts to the S&P tracked by, plus the SPY was up 5 straight days last week. We had a real good run, 7% in the market in 1 week. So I told everybody, I said, when we pull back, that the snapback is going to be a lot faster than the pullback. So trade deal in focus amid stock market rebound. So that's one of the reasons why I called a good market last week, is because we're getting these trade deals in, and plus we're working with China. We broke the ice, said, come on, let's go to the table. Let's negotiate, and let's get this ball rolling, because we don't want to hurt you. We just want to make it even, an even playing field, and we want to stop this fentanyl coming over and killing Americans. So they're going to do something about it finally. Crack down on the dealers in China and they could be doing it on purpose just to kill us off. So that's my major points is the fentanyl deal, and then having fair trade deal. And we've been wanting it. We've been calling for it. Democrats have been calling it for years, but never did nothing about it. Instead, they were in bed with them. Now we're finally doing something about it, which I think the Democrats should be happy. By the way, this is Ty Sunday, showing respect to the market. So hit that like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And let's go ahead and get to the watch list, and we're going to go over a couple stocks. So we got the SPY right here. I've already charted this up, and I'm going to show you what each one of these lines represent. This is the 5-day run that we had, and that report came back and pulled back to the first support. So if we pull back any more this week, I think 583.37 is a pivot point on the 5-day time frame. where we had resistance, 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 triple top break, and then we had to pull back to that triple top, and she bounced up and had another great run. So if we come back and hold that, that'll be the double down here, and we should hold 583.37 and then break resistance of 588.70 and then long-term double top break at 594.30 with a low possible strong buy at 578.17. Again, this is the pivot point area. I'm expecting to see 583.37 this week. If not, we'll continue and start to run up. But this is going to be a good week. We're going to get more news about China probably. But the market had a 5-day run, and it needed to pull back some. And if we can hold 583.37, that's going to be the pivot point. And this is a 15-minute time frame. I think we'll have a good chance of running back up, back to a double top. And that's going to be the SPY. That's this coming week. Now the SPX should open lower. And we've got a resistance at 59.58.62. And we need to go ahead and probably pull back to the 50 for Monday morning at 59.28 or 5,900. I think 5,900 would be a good pivot point area on this time frame. And if we can pull back and keep that, that'll be great. If not, we're going to come down here and hit this lower support at 58.70 and be a strong buy. But always keep in mind on the 15-minute, I got the 200 EMA and the 200 SMA here for a final low support. Resistance to break this week is going to be at 59.58. So the major number we got to watch is going to be 59.04. Let me see if I can find. So we got them took care of. We got the IWM. We're going to pull up the 20-day 1 hour. See, we've had a great run on this here stock. Let's clean this up. IWM. I'm going to call low support right around the 200 SMA on the 1 hour time frame, and that's going to be right around 204. And let's go ahead and put a price line in there. If we hold that, we're going to stay bullish. If not, we're going to drop down to this next support level. Well, let's go bring it down just a little bit farther. 201. But I think that 204.23 might hold, and that's the 200 SMA. Then we got the QQQ. It also pulled back on Friday after they got the news. So let's go ahead and put this on the 1 hour. And that's going to be the same one, same right around in here, that 200. I got 583 to hold. So just a little bit above it for your first support. And I think that's right around 505. We could get a bounce off that right there. Let's bring us to the 15-minute, 5-day. Yeah, a little bit higher maybe. That first support right around 508.37. Second support and third right at 500. 505, 508.37. Those are my three supports with the triple top resistance, which make it a quad at 521 this coming week. Expect a little bit more pullback and then a bounce back up and try to break that resistance. So those are the four indices. Now let's go straight to the watch list. We got NVIDIA. NVIDIA came out with all that CHIPS Act, or the lightening of the chips that the Biden administration put some pressure on the chip makers. And we still, so that's why we pulled back and we've been stagnant for a while. Well, news came out last week that we're going to ease off a little bit of that. And China, India is interested, especially India. And with all that, and Saudi Arabia pouring the money into our country. So I think we're going to have a nice little solid support here. First support, let's clean this up. Right there, we hit that first support after we had the pullback after hours. And then the second support's going to be right here at 130. And then that 128.81 is my solid buy if that thing holds right there. I don't expect this to pull back much, but if it does pull back to 123, man, I'm loading the boat. But I want to try to keep it just under 130 to around 128.81 and then run it back up. But right now we pulled back to support after hours, so we could start to gain momentum and run this back up, and resistance is going to be right around 136.45 on the video. But 130.67 to 128.81. Tesla's been very bullish here lately. We also had a good 5-day run on Tesla. Let's clean this chart up. There's people made some good money on Tesla last week. So that first support is going to be right around 335.70 with a solid buy if it does dip on down to 323. Oh, come on. How to get it on there. 323.79 for a strong buy if it does dip on down, but the support channel is between 332.44 and 335.70, and that will maintain bullishness. If not, we'll drop all the way down to 323.79 for a very strong buy. Tesla resistance to break will be right at 350. That'll be the one. If we can maintain above 350, this thing's going to go a lot higher. Now they're going to have oh gosh. I think it's on the 6th. Robo-taxi. It's going to be legal on the 6th. Yeah, robo-taxi right here. So we still got a Brian Wang doubles down on $1,000 price target. So this thing could really have the momentum and start to run. But we're going to stick with that $500 for right now. Double top. Once the news comes out, if this thing catches up momentum and breaks 350. And then we got 375, 400, 425. We'll do it in $25 intervals. Low support, like I said, if something comes in and it's a strong buy at 323, 324. Coin, looks like they're under investigation. So I don't know. I think solid support right around 240. PLTR, we broke an all-time high last week. 133.49, and we pulled back to that first support at 125.41. That's going to be your strong support. Strong buy at 121. No lower than that. Your pivot point right around 123. So resistance to break this coming week, 130.91. So this thing's starting to pull back. I think we could see a good little support this coming week and run this back up to the top. But right now, 125.41 to 130.91 for your hard resistance to break, with a strong buy at 121. We got Intel, we got Apple on here. Apple's pulled back. Now this could be a good possibility of a strong buy. No lower than 207.35. If that holds, we'll run it back up to 211 for resistance to break to a triple top up here, right around 213, 214. Amazon done very well. We had that 214 high, and she's pulled back to a good solid support. So I'd keep a good eye on Amazon for a reversal for resistance to break right around 206.71. Run it up here to the next resistance level right around 209. So this could be a strong buy this coming week. It's reacting to Moody's. I think this is just a setup for a strong buy. Google the same way. Google had a good run last week. We hit 169.35. We got a neckline right here at 166 with a low support to hold at 162.73. If it goes lower, it would be a triple top down here at 160 for a strong buy. But first support, 162.73 to 160.71. Just had a great run last week, and this could consolidate. I'm going to call this a pivot point area right around 162. Mister was one that we really eyed last week that had a great run, and we pulled back. So this thing's at a support area, 389 to hold. Now I'm back in my support channel, which is 390.74 and 393.97. So we'll see what happens Monday, if we can get a reversal to the upside on this and run it back up and try to break 400. And that's going to be Mister. And I think we can get 404 out of it this coming week. And Disney came back strong. They had some good earnings. We're holding at 200. So the pivot point on Disney for this coming week is going to be right around 110 with a lower support to hold right around 109.84. And resistance to break will be the double top. So expect a little pullback, triple top, and then run back up and try to break that triple. We got UNH with insider buying. Now this one here, I think we'll have a nice little run on it. United Healthcare. It's working slow this week. We had a 250, 248 low. I called this 293 a resistance with a 280 dip, and we went below that 280. 270 I might have said. But we came back pretty hard here at 248 and it ran back up. So resistance is at 293.50. And I think I got a chart posting that. And resistance to break this week is going to be 315.13. You do have some insider buying going on right now. And if we consolidate with a low support this week at 270, I think we can maintain that, hold that, and run it back up 315 long for a long swing. That's United Healthcare with insider buying going on. Now they're under investigation and they're going to have a new CEO. So that's a good catalyst and a bad catalyst. Under investigation caused that stock to pull back under 250. It'd be a good I mean, insider buying, they ain't too worried about it. 315's resistance to break, 270 to hold. Netflix, this has been a good, strong stock. We had a good pullback on this one to 1100. It ran back up. So, I'm not very good at trading Netflix right now. So I'm going to say 1162 is going to be your support. But I don't know. I don't trade it much because I think it's overbought. I don't watch TV. So it's not really in my account, Don't trade stuff that you're not into. And Netflix, I'm not into it. I may be a little biased on that. And that's it for the watch list. Target's on here. Let me see where Target is. Yeah, some chick called Nike out last week. Target's cheap. Anything under $100 would be a strong buy to go long. If this thing pulls back to 96.47, I might get in the trade. And then what I say, Nike. Nike had a good bounce. Some girl came out. I'm not too hip on Nike, but they are coming out with some better shoes now to kind of go with the trend that's going on. And let's look at the 1 hour time frame on this. Yeah, it's respected the 200. So anywhere around $61 I think would hold. And I'm going to set me an alert right there at $61. I think if it hits the 61, you could probably get in this trade and run it back up. But, we got a yin-yang right here. Also, for low support, right around 60.30. So those are my two support areas. Somewhere in that channel between 60.30 and 61. If we can hold that and maintain it, we could probably run it back up to 62.40. Right now, 62.40 is the first support. CrowdStrike had a good week. Here's another one that had a real good run. We ran from 408 all the way up to right around 445. So I had a $38 run. Pivot point on this one here to hold. Let's put a trend line from the body of that to the body of that, right around 423. I want to set it a little bit above it, so I'll be ready to catch that trade. CrowdStrike. I think that's it for this coming week. Keep a good eye out on the market. We're going to see how the market reacts to this Moody's downgrade. I think it'll be short-lived, and we'll run back up. I'm not too concerned about tariffs, not as much as these fat cats are. I'm not concerned about a recession. We got a business president instead of a socialist president in office now. I think the fat cats are mostly Democrats. Most of the billionaires out there that trade Wall Street, and they just loved that free money that was coming in. Now that it's been put to a stop, they got a little hissy fit. And let the private sector do the business, not the government. The government picks and chooses winners and never works. Let the private sector do the picking and choosing. So this is the Sneaky Snake trading strategy, where I talk about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. And I'll see you Monday morning live on YouTube. Hit that like button and subscribe.